Hi there, so this is part two of don't know how many. We'll see how far it goes. I just didn't want obviously the lengths to be too long. So in the first one we did French horns and trumpets of our Star Wars fanfare. And now we're going to go on to low brass and hopefully get to percussion. One thing I was thinking, one thing I did actually off screen in the last session was the lengthen. What are we in now? The legatos of these, so I kept these ones short. I lengthened them, kept the velocities high on there, but reduced the staccato ones here, mainly because of just these would not, in a performance setting. I should probably that one as well. Thinking about it. Just the nature of the tonguing, it wouldn't allow the notes to be as bold and as solid as a full note, because there's not enough time for them to sound the same. More of an effect. Sorry, I was just moving my chair then. So I took them down to try and recreate a more realistic thing, and that's something we'll have to watch out for on the trombone ones, because they do have these semi-quavers. Not sure how they'd tongue them, to be honest. Mainly because my own triple and double tonguing is abysmal. Assumed they'd probably double tongue, just because of the groupings, the four there. They could. They might triple tongue and then single tongue the last pair. Really want a tar on there. Anyways, I would have thought I want a tar on that note there, because marcato, so they just have more than a k sound using in double tonguing. So I think a lot of this was unison as well, so we could probably get rid of still the last bit where we have to breathe chords before the main melody comes in, which I'm not doing obviously. There was them tones there. So other than last bits, Command Shift T. Oop, not Shift T, Command T. Like a section, so Solly still there. That. So again, where I didn't put on the thing, so I press Command D then. Duplicate that track. Drop that down there, because I'm going to have this as trombone solo if there is one. I'll just have on separate tracks. Have a look what we've got. So the brass, and unfortunately don't have solos and section, they only have a section, so we'll have to make do. With trombones, legato, it'll just be trombones. And sounds actually put that. I like that one actually. Similar style of structure of instrument, because it's got this. Yeah, that's the only problem I have with GarageBand. It doesn't always give you that much information about the actual using. guess that's part of it being like a reduced version almost of Logic. Unless there is a way of nerfing that about going into Logic and having a look, because they often share instruments. That's trombone legato. I want more of them actually. I have to rethink my panning, I think. Well, we're just gonna have to make do with the one that's still sound. Want to layer again with. Actually, I forgot you can select on here, can't you? That was okay because they weren't very good, I don't think. On the really staccato, is it? Sustained. So we'll find another one. Trombone I've had a bit of success with in the past. I think I used most of them on a lot of the extra instruments. Of course, I can't remember if I used it in the brass ones, but I certainly did for woodwinds, I think. Okay. But it's got quite a lot of venom though, so we might have to. Again, we'll probably look at them more general velocities. They're all in together. Moved. Back. Yeah, the staccato, and it's probably actually a good point. I know in the last one I talked about the difference, the samples and how they are layered in terms of not layered but programmed sort of thing, and recorded to offer sort of a timbral change and difference between dynamic levels. The trombones probably are, at least in GarageBand from what I remember, and it seems to be the case now, they have the biggest difference between the upper dynamic and the lower, and probably that's probably true of actually in real life, to be honest. It's just unfortunate, obviously we don't have the same amount of dynamic layers in here in these stock instruments, so the sudden shift from like a normal timbre trombone which isn't been overblown and a one that is quite sudden. I mean, that's almost true again in terms of real life. There is a sudden break really between suddenly start overblowing and back, although you can do more overblowing. I don't know how powerful player you are, but it's not often we do overblow because not always a desirable sound. So really what I need to do actually is some humanization quickly. On. Oh, they could also be shortened, can't they? Yeah, I'll shorten them for now, but I might re-lengthen them ones. Same, the machine gunny effect, or it's not. Well, actually, we're going to have difficulty avoiding the machine gun effect. We'll see what we can do more generally as we try and refine the whole thing once everything's selected and things like that. More the sheer power of it, which just come across like that. From what I remember of the actual things, it's just in the background. It sort of backgrounds the sound a bit because it's just not possible to get the volume in such a short space of time. So. I think being aware of what it does, working in GarageBand and doing this sort of thing is valuable. If you can, it's worth doing, I think. Even if it's not in absolutely every instrument, say you're up against it and you have got a humanize option, then. And obviously the other way of getting around humanization is to perform the music in. Something you have the facility to do. Board. Obviously, the main purpose behind mine, of course, was to be as for everyone who didn't necessarily have everything, and that's likewise with this content as well. Not everyone will have access to a keyboard, and that shouldn't obviously make it impossible for people to work on these kind of skills or produce music, just general music. Velocities in the humanization chicken got left field on. I said left wing then. A bit socialist with the. Yeah, so the problem here now is this staccato is just simply too strong. So it could be worth the next bit. Taking the staccatos down a touch. Volume. Probably do the same with velocities and maybe tweak these a little bit more. We still want that venom, really. Having said that, let's see what velocities. Oh, so you can hear there. That's delicate. Bring it up to above 90. And they got that venom, the change in timbre. Definitely. And then basically what happens is velocity affects volume of that sample. So bringing it back down should help us out quite a bit. I'm a bit disappointed actually that the MIDI hasn't done a bit more with the here with like some of these repeated notes. Been nice for us to more. Although I say that, I've just like pulled them all close together. It's the end of this region. Didn't think about that. Didn't work so well. There was obviously a big shift in dynamic. Try and affect it in the legato patch. Sometimes you got to be careful. I notice it's more in more modern libraries. So with pianos, maybe in the old ones as well. Possibly the nature of the instrument, because it's the way it works is obviously maybe it is more the synthesizer. When you overlap, basically what I was going to say is when you overlap these, you have to be careful. Like, I think it'd be okay with this brass. Sometimes the piano roll, if you overlap notes, will affect the next note. So obviously, we have an attack here. So the start of this piano roll note here will trigger the sample. There'll be a sustain through here, or a decay, depending on the kind of instrument. So, like, obviously trombones can sustain as long as air in the lungs. So through here, it's fully sustained. I'm pretty sure that's what the white line means in GarageBand. Gives sort of an idea on the sort of sustain and decay, sustain length. Usually longer, because obviously here we've got quite high velocity here, 127 as max, as high as it can go. So it sustains right through. But then here obviously we have the instruction to release the note. And what happens is when these notes overlap sometimes, the release information of the previous note affects the next one. If these were separate notes, it won't matter. And I don't think it matters at the minute anyway, but it's just something to be aware of when working with MIDI. This kind of MIDI, I know there's MIDI 2.0, or was it MIDI? I can't remember the numbers now. Gen of MIDI we're on. I think it was 3 actually. No, anyway, it doesn't matter. Obviously this is the current, it's not released yet. I don't think the new form of MIDI, whether that'll change. I imagine it'll probably work on the same sort of stuff. It'll be more the amount of, I think they spoke about it when I read the article, that they'll change more of the stuff that goes on, like stuff that goes on. It's sort of like the amount of control you have over velocities. So rather than it between 0 and 127, it might be like, I don't know, hundreds or thousands, so that you just have that more minute level of change. We now develop instruments well with their multiple sample layers, create more nuanced switches between dynamic and stuff like that. That's better. They sit back a bit more already because of the lengthening of the note, so just takes the edge off it slightly. I know we did some round robin in the horn, but it wasn't really that effective, was it? I don't think I remember. Because we just don't have the choice of instruments. If you remember, round robin was basically the setting up of 2 different instruments, hoping that the samples would be different. I don't think they were in the end. And then distributing the piano roll, or actually I think they were 2 different. We had to revert back to normal. Because obviously that's the other way around. But like if you have the same sample triggering every time, you get sort of a machine gun effect. A lot of sample libraries will have multiple samples on the same note to give you sort of, whenever you play a new note, that sounds sonically different. It's physically a different note being played. And then the more you have of that, and then more you're able to affect it with like sort of expression things. Obviously I haven't used the expression modulation so much in this because of the nature of the music. I might have to use... No, we probably won't. I was thinking about doing some on here, so we might get to that. See how we're getting on. Back a bit. Take these out, you know. Good effect. So maybe we should see if there is another trombone. Let's see if we can experiment here. Take a risk. Might have to just abandon it. I don't know how these are sampled. That makes it a bit more difficult to know what's going on in terms of what notes. Because often, like I said in the last one, not all the pictures necessarily have a note on them. Sampled note. Some of them have, like, they'll record maybe in minor thirds or major, like triads, and then distribute, or even fifths, and then distribute, often pitching down because it works better, using one note across several notes, one recorded sample across several notes. Makes sense. So this B flat might not have originally been recorded as a B flat. Maybe it was recorded as the C here, C3, and the sampler is pitching from that C down a major second to produce the B flat. So what I was thinking of testing out, see if we can get some subtle differences. Putting by doing this round robin, by having, say, these notes as C and pitching them down with a plugin may or may not work. I'm interested to find out. We could literally go as far as we wanted with this. We really wanted to create our own round robins, and like some of the others with the French horn, we could attempt it. Let's see. It does have a slight difference, actually. Might have some pitch issues though. Not sure how effective it is on. Be able to do it in there. Down in GarageBand. Oh, I've only done it on the B flat anyway. That would explain the pitch issues. We only really need it on those anyway. I think we would get away with it in this short space of time, having the triplets the same. Win needs to be there. Okay. That's weaker. Problem with both at once. Okay, not an amazing system, but I think it does offer just a slight change to the pitch, just especially because they're so rapid anyway. Whether I'd do that and like a longer sustained instrument way, your ears or the listener's ears got a chance to take it in. I would probably reconsider. But here, I think we could get away with it, and it might be worth trying to do it on the trumpets as well. I'd leave the French horn. Trombones. See how they all work together now. Yeah, I think keep working. Obviously, I want to go back over stuff and refine it. Possible. Let's try tuba. That's one of the things I find as well, is where possible I like to work on MIDI over several days, even if it's only like chunky bits, like an hour here and an hour there. I find it's the same with mixing. I find personally, you get used to hearing the sounds, you struggle to get critical, and therefore you struggle to refine them the same way. So refining in bits and pieces, where you're able to, obviously, I find, well, it feels more helpful to myself. So tuba, this should be relatively straightforward. Should be able to whistle through this one. Just listen to legato first, and then tubas do sometimes really bad. I like that staccato sound actually. I actually made the predominantly it was the attack which was issue here. Sounds a bit low. Bosses there. Although actually it might be the register. It's quite a tuba. For some reason need the velocities like a weak point where they're not the upper band, with these say. I won't necessarily recommend shortening notes for everything. Just for this fanfare, it feels like it's only the blanket detachment of the note work better, and you get a little bit more. Get away with more in here as well. Yeah, actually it worked better. I should have tweaked velocities after humanizing. less. We do. Automate volume, even expression. So the difference between volume and expression basically is MIDI. Really matter anyway. For these kind of instruments anyway, often in more advanced instruments, expression and modulation are used to control sort of crossfading of samples. So expression, well, it used to be modulation in some, but expression now is predominantly used to control the dynamic level of your instrument. So the volume instrument is physically played. Like I said, they layered the samples. So expression, you can sort of cross control the sample instrument, crossfade in between those samples, as well as the sort of velocity, the note velocity, so that you get like through sustained instruments you can create crescendos and diminuendos. Sometimes modulation is used. It depends on the instrument. Modulation, though, in more advanced instruments is often used to then crossfade between vibrato samples or some kind of other form of sample, depending on what it is. Often vibrato. I'm trying to think what else there is. Sometimes you can get it between like sulpont and sultasto, kind of positioning of the bow on string instruments and tremolos, that kind of thing. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it wouldn't surprise me if some use expression for those kind of things. It just depends on how they're programmed, but I know a lot of instruments have it that way around. So you just obviously, if you've got a new instrument, you'd use that. You can get away with using volume here though, because we just simply don't have the same layering. Of course, I think use expression. Volume. Yeah. Okay, volume in here anyway controls volume out there, so do I want to do that? Not really. That's why I use expression, because I don't want to control the volume here. I want control of that possibly later. I don't know whether I definitely mix this in the strict sense of the word, like use expression because it affects volume. That's the difference actually again in like old school MIDI, which I guess it's sort of we're closer to here. Expression controls volume between the bottom silence and the top, which is set by volume. So expression, if you put it up here, is just going to play as fully as it can within that volume, whereas expression you can bring down, obviously. It'll just bring it quieter, and it's like a sort of ratio against this MIDI here, MIDI volume. I want the first note to be full, but then I want to bring back later ones because I just don't think they're right. Oops, my light's gone a bit. Laughing at this being up there. Right. I don't humanise this. I don't think I will for now because I moved that stuff around. I've done it in a different order. That's my fault. Let's see how the brass sounds together. I missed that earlier. I'm surprised I missed that. trombone, obviously, because I only did the B flats and took them up a major second. I left this one on F. I mean, it was playing an E flat. Sounded like a wrong note. I'm glad I heard that. There we go. Cool. I think I want to make more of the RAL here in a bit and affect some of the tempos anyway, just to try and add some more station-y stuff to this. But first, we'll roll on with this. Timpani should be easy in this because there's not a lot that goes on. Let me see that first. On my microphone so I can. Okay, it's like a flam. I can't remember the technical term for all them genres. It's like flam and then something else. And I think flam's more just add one yakitura there, so it'd be like a to-do. 2 notes rather than 4. At the minute, it's probably programmed to be something. Well, it's nothing. This is orchestral kit. Timpani. Tremolo hit. Do we want hit? Might want to do here what we did. Sound too bad actually though. Get away with that. Probably I might leave them the length they are. I think. I'm already happy with that, to be honest. Sounds okay. Not a lot to it. That a bit more. If we crescendo through this. Less effective. If we humanize a little. Really a lot to that. I'm thinking about how we might fancy it up. Although I was going to actually have a look at, sometimes these are programmed. Well, I don't think. Yeah. I mean, the other thing we could test is a tremolo. A look then. What I'm thinking is if we could just time it right, we could get that. I. 'Cause. 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 'C later than that. Better in the... I prefer it with that. That's better. It won't be so long, I don't think. Obviously wants to preempt. The original... If you've ever heard the original Star Wars recordings, or rather the sessions, sorry, not the recordings, there was actually, and I'm surprised because I got a hold of scores for A New Hope, the recording session from that. I never saw it in there. They must have changed the scores as well, maybe between sessions. But the original Star Wars had evaded me now. Real obvious word for, like, basically you have a 1-beat pickup. So rather than going straight onto this big B flat unison chord, rather B flat major chord, had like an F, a B flat, so it was up into it, and bum bum. I just sang a different part of the Star Wars score there, basically. I can't hear the pitches in my head. But yeah, there was like an upbeat. Anacrusis? That's it, Anacrusis. Well, let's try and get through cymbal fast as well, so we can get the triangle, which I think is going to be a tricky one. And I'll probably round this off and maybe going through some stuff. Obviously, I wouldn't necessarily be as slow as this working on MIDI. Taking my time a bit, so hopefully you can follow along. If there's some repetitive bits in the edit, I'll try and speed them up, I think. So, cymbal. Ideally, we want a sort of military crash cymbal, where there's the two brought together like a... volume. Velocity. Artistic license. Preempt that slightly. Quite loud, so probably want to bring it down. But that's the sort of timbral quality I want. So there's something to be aware of. Sometimes you might want the timbral quality. These aren't always recorded perfectly the same, so you've not always got the same sort of volume. All sort of modern libraries are better catered for in that department. Well, that is in my experience. They're more balanced, but with older ones you have to be careful and probably just set levels slightly differently, like we did with trombones for the staccatos and things, like a disparity. Hopefully that'll work. So I've brought down the volume. Still quite loud. Saying that, I'll probably listen to this through my monitors. Obviously I have to do this on my headphones, although my headphones now are better than what they actually were for. Stopped halfway. Anyway, that's the cymbal. I feel that's perfectly fine. Triangle might be an issue here, especially with the way it's tremolo in here. Pedestrians. No triangle. We might actually have a triangle tremolo. Never have I been more pleased to see a triangle tremolo. Ah, we got away with this. I want it a higher pitch than that. Play around like we did with the. Might want to do it that way. Doesn't want to be in our faces. With this sort of thing, I'll probably play with the EQ as well and stuff in the mix. That worked well, because that would be that kind of stuff to program in GarageBand is less easy. It takes a lot of time and effort because you've not got the humanization for starters. And well, actually, what I'd probably that'd be the one time I'd try it, obviously, and play in. Could affect it, but you'd have to really play around with stuff and maybe do some of the pitch shifting stuff that we did just slightly to note as well. Demonstrate, might layer together or create crescendos. These I'm gonna do quieter below. It really sounds like it's just volume, to be honest. Probably not worth it. What's gonna do is around with the expression though. Probably more than I'd like, actually. I think I'd spend this long on triangle. I think in the background that could sound well. Play it here. Probably a little too much. It's probably a little too loud, actually. Might triangle after all. I want to start bringing it down immediately. To lose its quality, I do want it up there. It's the higher sound through this. Give it all that excitement. Spectrum, really going to town with their little fanfare. certainly some improvement to have. I might spend some time refining this a bit more in another episode. But now we've got everything programmed in. Might change some of the instruments as I go along. One thing I was thinking about doing is having the expression pull away these notes here. But we'll do a short refine episode kind of thing next. But yeah, we've programmed lower brass and done some percussion. Got lucky with a triangle. That was a triangle tremolo in the orchestral kit. Handy. Otherwise that could have been interesting. Probably had to play it in. But yeah, thank you for watching.